Hello, I'm Judith Kockert, PhD in Civil Engineering, and I manage research projects at the Building Performance Institute Europe in Brussels and Berlin. I'm concerned about climate change, but I believe that we can design, build, renovate and use buildings in a way that supports a sustainable future in Europe and sets examples for the world. In an excellent team of scientific experts, I was able to integrate this building's perspective into the European calculator. The model and its own interface, the Transition Pathways Explorer, allow you to find out how to reduce CO2 emissions and achieve decarbonization in Europe. It contains technologies for all sectors and key behavioral choices. In the following, I will take you on a future pathway of our building stock. I will show you how you can create your own pathway, how to assess the impact of different choices in building sector, such as the renovation wave included in the European Green Deal, and how buildings can contribute to decarbonizing Europe. But first, let's discover the ambition levels and what they mean in the building sector. Accessible via click on the lever name, the ambition level definitions lay down the trajectories for all 4 ambition levels, with level 4 achieving the least CO2 emissions. In this case, you see the average energy saving in the building stock connected to improvements in the building envelope. Scrolling down, the lever description explains that the quality of the building envelopes in the building stock depends on the renovation rate, the demolition rate, and the energy performance of new buildings. The construction rate of new buildings, however, is a result of the demolition and the floor area development. In the ambition level details, you can see that moving the lever from ambition level 1 to 4 means to increase the annual renovation rate from 1% to 3%, and at the same time increasing the share of deep renovations from 5% to 70%. This is indicating what is necessary to stay on a pathway with ambition 4. But this is not all. If you want to know more about the country details and the sources were used, there is a link at the very bottom of this one-pager that will bring you to the technical documentation. There you will also find the calculation logic within the European calculator. How does this link to what's currently going on? At the end of 2019, Ursula von der Leyen launched the European Green Deal. One element is the renovation wave. With the lever we just talked about, Frau von der Leyen can assess the impact of the renovation wave and what it takes to get there. She can vary the renovation rate and depth in the building levers in tiny decimal steps to fit her idea of the progress of the renovation wave. How can she analyze her pathway? Let's look at space heating in buildings. We start with a pathway that upholds past trends. So all levers on the left are set to ambition level 1. In the results section, we can see that the total European floor area grows. We find the reasons looking into the ambition level selected for connected input levers. The floor area increase is mainly due to a growth in population and in the living space per person. We now look at the effect of final energy demand. We explain its increase between 2020 and 2030 with the increase in floor area. But what about the decrease after 2030? After all, this is ambition level 1, which continues past trends. Looking into the different ambition level definitions on the left in the technologies and fuels section for buildings, we can find the cause. The building envelopes continuously improve on a European average. The technical documentation explains that this development occurs mainly due to the natural replacement of old buildings by new buildings. The average final energy demand consequently shrinks until 2050, but it remains at a level exceeding the minimum historical values. Let's take this past trend pathway and compare it to another one. For example, the European reference scenario from 2016. We have mapped this scenario's assumptions in a pathway in the European calculator. From the past trends to the EU reference, the ambition levels in the building section increased to level 1.5. We can observe a reduction in final energy demand. This reduction origins, on the one hand, in the technology and fuel share lever due to a progress in fossil fuel phase-out at level 1.5, and is, on the other hand, strengthened by an increase in heating system efficiency. Both measures, the switch to renewable energy sources and the switch to more efficient technologies, contribute to the additional energy savings. Beyond these changes on the technological side, also the effect of user behavior can be assessed in the model. These key behaviors were integrated by my colleague Luis Costa from the Potsdam Institute for Climate Impact Research. Taking these behavioral choices into a scenario that focuses on key behaviors, we can observe an additional reduction of final energy demand, which is mostly linked to the reduced demand for living space. Reshaping building units to the shrinking household sizes and shared spaces contribute to reducing space and energy demand, and can be observed in the urban areas today. But what would a scenario look like that combines ambitious behavior and technological measures? With such a transitional change in behavior and technology, the level 4 pathway shows a maximum reduction that is technically possible. Such a pathway also requires early planning and adoption of infrastructure changes, such as conscientious extension of the district heating network. Will such pathway decarbonize space heating? Let's have a look at the greenhouse gas emissions. For the European reference scenario, we can observe a reduction of greenhouse gas emissions, which is connected as the fuel phase-out is already on its way. For example, in the electricity sector. To isolate the effect of the building envelope, we increase the ambition only in that specific lever and almost half the greenhouse gas emissions with that. Only when also increasing the ambition in the switch of fuel and technologies, we can decarbonize the space heating in buildings. Much more can be done when we start to think sustainably from the design. A first assessment of the switch from cement and steel towards wood was made in the manufacturing module in the European calculator. These results are exceeding the savings that can be achieved in the use phase of the buildings, and I warmly invite you to discover them and many other astonishing results available in the European calculator. Let our decisions be informed. Thank you for watching.